Hello and welcome to our Zest webinar, Empowering Menopause Conversations in the Workplace. My name is Clare Reynolds and I'm going to be hosting a roundtable today, a conversation as we mark World Menopause Day. We're going to delve deeper into how we can make employees feel more supported in their current roles and in the workplace. So joining me today, I have two industry experts who are going to be providing a wealth of knowledge and some insight for our webinar. Firstly, I'm delighted to welcome Anne O'Neill, co-founder and CEO of Adora Digital Health. Anne, tell us a little about yourself.
Hi, Claire. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me, and hello to the audience listening and watching. So Adora Digital Health is an employee benefit for women, paid for by employers to help women gather the skills, the knowledge, and the confidence they need to manage their menopause and to keep them in the workplace.
Brilliant. Thank you. Welcome. Claire, over to you. Now from Teva Pharmaceuticals, Senior Benefits Manager. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Claire, and welcome everyone to this webinar. So I look after Teva UK and Northern Ireland. We have a host of benefits. We have 1,100 employees that are based in the UK, so I look after all of their benefits. And then one of our areas of expertise was around the menopause, how we could empower women within our workplace and how we could make it more inclusive.
Brilliant, thank you very much. So here we are your panel. Please do feel free. I just want to remind you that we are running a live Q&A, so if you have some questions, send them through and we'll do our best to provide some answers to those. Now, before we actually get started into the menopause and questions that we've got, I wanted really just to remind us what is menopause. And I'm going to read some notes here if you don't mind, so please bear with me. But the menopause is at a point in time 12 months after a woman's last period. Now, the years leading up to that are called the transition years, and these can last anywhere between 7 and 14 years. It's a natural biological process, but the impact on women can vary with very difficult symptoms. Over 40 known symptoms at this time, including anxiety, hot flushes, night sweats, and many emotional changes. Now, each and every woman has a different menopause journey and needs personalised care and support in order to manage their symptoms. And coming on to the statistics now, and these are according to Carrot Fertility, 4 out of 5 women say that menopause affects their careers. 79% of women admitted to taking time off, but concealing the real reason for menopause symptoms, and that was the reason behind their leave. 31% felt that menopause damaged their career growth, and 54% of women said they felt uncomfortable talking to their employer or seeking support at work. So Anne, I'll come to you first, if I may. The menopause, it's not a new thing. Why the focus and conversations? Why have they started now?
Yeah, really good question. You're right, every woman will go through menopause and 80% will experience symptoms. I think there's a number of reasons, actually. I think, first of all, women are staying in the workplace for longer, and generation before perhaps left, and therefore the workplace is not set up to support women, and women are trying to do something about that. There's been a rise in the sort of midlife cheerleader and campaigner. So you have some high profile Generation X women like Davina McCall, famously doing a documentary on Channel 4 2 years ago, Mariella Frostrop, who's been a big campaigner. So they're no longer scared about talking about menopause. They're doing a lot to get the conversation started, giving other women the confidence as well. And I think also in government, there's new policy, and there was a women's health strategy published earlier this year. There's a big focus on employers helping women during this transition a lot more. So I would say the time has come, and nothing more powerful for an idea than when the time has come for it.
Amazing, thank you. Now, Claire, working as Senior Benefits Manager, you have introduced a number of ways to empower conversations. What have you done to raise awareness and encourage the conversations on this topic in your business?
So our journey probably started about 3 years ago. We had a discussion about a fan and our air conditioning. We had some senior ladies, that senior managers, that were obviously going through hot flushes and everything at work. They wanted to put their fans on. They were not allowed because it messed up all the air conditioning. So, it's kind of one of those awkward conversations. So we thought, well, okay, well, let's get a few people, managers and HR all involved, and let's have that conversation. Let's see what we can do, and then look at a plan and how we can support and empower women during this, difficult time for them. So we did various things. We did some manager training, and we've done a lot of webinars. We've updated our intranet site, so there's a lot of information on intranet site. We've recently just done some posters as well that has like a QR code that tells them, that will take them to the intranet site, and then from that, then they'll be able to get all the information. But probably one of the best things and one of the cheapest things we've ever done is our coffee mornings. So we have a coffee morning every month on a Monday morning. It's around 10, I think it's 10 to 11 o'clock. Obviously it can change. And what that does, it allows employees just to come along. They can come for the whole hour if they want to, or just half an hour. They can listen, they can partake in the conversation. And it's literally just people talking about their journey, what their symptoms are, what HRT they're on, what herbal things they're taking. And it also, by us putting an invitation out into their calendars, it automatically gives that employee the permission to actually be able to go to that meeting and to be able to partake in it. And I've had some amazing stories come back from the people that actually go to these sessions on how much they've learned. So it's a real learning tool. They've really learned a lot from each other. And, people have gone down, I suppose, where they might think, okay, I'm going to go down the HRT route. Actually, I think, well, actually, maybe I'll look at herbal remedies first of all until I look at the HRT route. And, they've discussed all of that. There's loads out there. And I think because there's so much out there now, so Davina has done such an amazing job and everything. There's so much out there now that sometimes you don't know where to start. And especially on Facebook, there's the amount of things you have come up like, oh, this is your new drug for menopause or this and that. And not always the best. So by actually having this coffee morning, people then can say, right, okay, this really helped me. This really worked. And having that recommendation from somebody is a lot better than trying to get that recommendation from somewhere like Facebook. So things like that have really helped. And just talking about it, I think from me being involved in this, I've then started to speak to some of the mums at school and some of my friends, and we didn't talk about it. It was very much a taboo situation. You just didn't talk about it. And suddenly, because I talk about it quite freely, it's like, oh, Claire, what about this? What about that? Oh, I didn't know that was one of the symptoms. Oh, I didn't know this. And oh, have you tried this? And I think it's all in empowering women to actually talk about it. Once they get talking and they feel that they're not the only one, I think that's the really powerful part, because we've had some really good feedback from employees that said, actually, these coffee mornings, I used to think that I was on my own, that I was the only one that with these symptoms, that I was going absolutely mad, that I was always having a bad day. And now you've made me feel normal. You've made me feel that I can keep going. I can get over this. It will get better and things like that. And we are a company that supports that. So
just to add on to Claire's point, I mean, I speak to employers the whole time, and I would say people in the audience are looking for high impact, low cost ideas, setting up a coffee morning or menopause cafe, boiling the kettle, getting some biscuits and inviting people in is really powerful, actually. And women learn a lot from listening to other women. And once they start talking, they sometimes don't stop. That's fantastic. Because previously, women weren't talking at all. It was very taboo. There was a big stigma in the workplace. Our mother's generation didn't talk about it. They just suffered. And that's got to change. So I think that was a great piece of advice from Claire.
And I think also trying to get men involved. So
Yes.
we've done manager training, which obviously is going out to men as well as women, which is really good.
Yes.
But we have had some men come to our coffee mornings, which is great. They're really encouraged, and they have learned loads. And I've spoken to men that, you know, like making a cup of coffee and things like that, and they're like, oh, what's this about the menopause, Claire? What's a presentation? I didn't go to that. Can you share it?
Yeah.
And there's like, I didn't know that. I now understand what my wife's going through. I can now go home and like kind of support her more.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and so it's all of that as well. It's getting everyone on board. That's really important.
You're absolutely right. Whilst it's women who go through menopause, it impacts everybody.
Yeah.
You hear, I mean, we hear younger people talking about the impact on their moms. We hear partners and husbands talking about the impact on their relationships. And we do a number of educational webinars as part of Adora. And one of the ones we've got coming up in November is specifically for men, actually. So they have a safe place to come and understand what they can do to support their wives or their colleagues in the workplace. They're keen. They're really keen to understand that.
And I think you're right there as well about it. It literally impacts the whole family.
Yes.
Because my little son, sometimes he comes up and goes, Mum, you're having not a very good month this month,
Oh,
are you?
yes. Bless you, educating your son.
I said,
He'll be a good man.
My HRT will be coming soon. We're changing it, Thomas. But yeah, you know, it is very like, yeah, it does affect the whole family. It's not just, you know, women, it affects partners and the
Everybody.
whole family. It
Everyone,
does.
and
And the
the
more
workplace.
people talk about it, then they'll understand it, and then people can be empowered and get through it.
So a key message here really is get the conversation started.
Definitely.
Yes.
Okay, so benefits have played a part in your offering, in your business. Claire, can you tell us a little bit more about that and the positive impact that's had?
Yes, so we have private medical insurance. Last year we added a menopause plan to our private medical insurance. So that means that employees can have a 45-minute GP appointment with a menopause GP, and they'll discuss what their symptoms are, what, you know, RT treatments and things like that are available to them. And then they'll also have a follow-up session around 6 weeks or maybe a bit later after that to see how they're going. And some of the people that have been on this journey, especially younger people where they go to their GPs, there's some really amazing GPs that really support menopause, but there's some that, you know, aren't so good at supporting it or understanding that actually when you're younger you can go through these symptoms. So this is a really good way to actually get those people heard and for them to actually get some really, really good advice.
Great, thank you. And Anne, there's lots we can raise awareness in the workplace with training, but what else is available in the marketplace now that people can go to?
Yeah, I mean, there has been a rise in the number of employee benefits and the number of companies that are now offering workplace training for companies, which is obviously really important. For the audience, of course, it depends where they are in their journey. If they're just starting off, menopause cafe type event is great. Listening, doing a gap analysis, an audit of what their workplace needs. Then they may decide on workplace training, and there are a number of companies that do that. And that's really important because especially people like line managers need to be able to signpost women to company resources or to healthcare services. Line managers themselves don't need to be menopause experts, but they need to be able to listen and support and validate and help women get to the places they need to. And then you've got companies like ours. We're a digital innovation. So we're a digital companion app for women. We enable them to track their symptoms. We enable them to come to online webinar sessions, chat to a live nurse. And then we have online consultations with gynecologists because women's health needs are very, very complex at this time of life. And gynecologists, obviously 7 years of training in reproductive health, so there's great quality of care. And that's all been enabled by technology. So we're using AI to personalize that experience for women. So of course, you have your private medical insurers who have all really upped their ante and their offer over the last 3 years, which is great to see. We wonder why they didn't do it before, but now they all have an offer. So there are different things depending on where a workplace is in its journey and depending on their budgets.
good. And it'd be remiss of me to say that Zest provide the technology of benefits as an employee benefits platform. We've got the product and services to support employers in signposting to those various, whether it's advisory content, whether it's services or support groups. And with the new marketplace that we're creating, I'm delighted to say that Adora will be featured on that marketplace. So another place, another reference site for people to go to. Now, I suppose with that in mind, we probably ought to shed some light on the new standard that has come out, BS30416. And can you tell us a little bit more?
BS30416.
It just rolls off the tongue there, doesn't it?
It really does, yeah. So it's brand new. It was published this year. I went to the launch, and I think it's free. And you can download it now. And I think that will be put in the chat, so you can easily get to that website. And again, to the audience, I would say it's a really good starting point in the absence of guidance and regulations or laws. This will give you what I think you need in terms of getting the conversation started, what to look out for. There's some flow charts to help you through your decision making. There's some frameworks, there's some suggestions on adjustments that can be made. It's universal, so it's for, you know, whether you're a mobile workforce or outdoor workforce or office based, you can extrapolate what you need from this standard. One of the things I really enjoyed about being at the launch was that this has been written and considered and discussed by people who really, really care about women, who really care about women in the workplace. You've got campaigners, you've got charities, you've got great workplace companies, you've got politicians, you've got influencers, you've got authors. A fantastic bunch of people have put this together, so it is really worthwhile having in the workplace and using it practically as well. Some great practical advice.
Fantastic. And Claire, coming back to you, talking about making sure that everyone is included in this conversation. How have you approached this, and what would your support or what would your advice be to companies who are looking to support their employees a bit more?
So yeah, so we look at inclusive and diversity as one of our key priorities at Teva, and menopause obviously comes over that area with making sure that we empower women and also bring themselves to work. One of our strap lines is make sure that you can bring your true self to work. So I think if you're starting off on this journey, like Anne was saying, you know, like having the coffee mornings, just starting off, and it can be really, really quick and easy. It doesn't need a lot of money. When we did ours, we didn't invest loads of money. We you know, like we are now putting more money into it, but when we first started, it was just a discussion with some of our senior managers. We then put a presentation together that was put on our intranet that gave our employees, you know, a bit of background about menopause and things like that. And then we did the manager training, which was really good. And then we've got the coffee mornings. Since then, we've done webinars that we've had industry experts come along, and we are actually looking at redoing our managers training because we rolled it out 2021, so it's quite a while ago. But it's something really simple. It doesn't need a lot of money to invest. You can start it now. Just by starting those discussions and really having the coffee mornings, you know, have like a cup of tea, you know, bring people together with a tea and just get a packet of biscuits or something. So most of our companies will come anywhere where there's free cake. So
amazing.
Our employees always come along. So, you know, just starting that and then, you know, putting stuff on the intranet, definitely doing the signposting them. We have like an employee assistance program and things like that, so we signpost them through that. But there's so much out there. Hempect is also a really good provider of information and, you know, like the new policy and things. There's so much out there that you could signpost them to and then just work then on the strategy going forward.
Anne, you mentioned that quite a lot of celebrities have been sort of talking about menopause. What do you think has given them, or I suppose they have I can't think of the word, a stage, I suppose, and they're able to communicate effectively with all of us. Is there more that perhaps they could be doing?
I think they're doing a great job, actually. I mean, I know that Kate Muir, who was the director of the Channel 4 documentary that Davina headed up, it took her a long time to convince commissioners to make that, and then she did, and it exploded. And if you go into the healthcare system, they talk about the Davina effect. But I think there's been such a stigma, and there's ageism to deal with in our society. There's been such a stigma around this, and there's been such taboo. And I think that you just need some good, courageous personalities like Davina, like Mariella, Oprah in the States, and Michelle Obama, Nicola Sturgeon, high-profile women who are not ashamed to talk about their experiences. It enables us to, not the high-profile, but sort of the everyday woman, to talk about our journey as well. And we've got to continue that and give women the confidence. I liken it, actually, this menopause movement, I liken it to how it was when we first started to reduce the stigma and taboo around mental health. In 2016, I remember in my early career, we would never really have admitted to anxiety or stress or mental health issues because of the fear of what it would do to your career. That's completely normalized. I mean, maybe not completely, but it's very much accepted now, and people understand about the importance of mental health. And I hope that we get there the same with menopause, that we create these supportive cultures in the workplace, and women feel empowered to talk about when they have no sleep or when they're having flooding, which impacts 40% of women, which means they might not be able to leave the house or might need more regular toilet breaks. They should be able to easily talk about those things. And I hope that this is the start of that happening.
And I think also with regard to trying to be more flexible, I think obviously since COVID, companies, a lot more people are working from home, so there is more flexibility. But we at Teva, we also look at, if somebody hasn't had that much sleep, for example, they've had 4 hours sleep, then that person can, maybe like log on later and finish later, or, if they're really suffering in the afternoon, instead of having an hour lunch, they can have 2-hour lunch, and being flexible around their working day. So, because they do work from home, a lot of people now, that flexibility is available to them, which is really important.
And keeping women in the workplace. I started Adora because I wanted to be part of the solution. And I've been saddened by the conversations I have with women. Just today, I had an email from somebody who is having that sleep problem, and she's trying to articulate that with her employer, and she's not being heard. And she finished the email by saying, "Shall I just resign?" And it's heartbreaking. And I felt like saying, "Do not resign."
Yes. Hang on in
she
there.
She mustn't resign. We must listen to women. We must give them the confidence. We must give them the tools. We must give line managers and others in the workplace. It's not just the responsibility of the line managers. It's got to come from the top. We must educate everybody, and we must keep women in the workplace, because socially and financially, and also from an economic perspective, it impacts the company, impacts on a business. So let's do what we can to get the conversation started.
And also, I think it's really important that somebody's journey, they might have a little blip, but then once they've got their symptoms under control, then that's, they'll be firing on all cylinders again. So it might just be, they're tired for a certain amount of time, they can't regulate their sleep, they can't, they're having issues with their periods, or they've, got their anxiety is through the roof. It's just kind of giving them a bit of a, like, we'll support you, we're there for you. And then once they've got over that hurdle, and then they can see the benefits of it.
Yeah, so absolutely right. I use the analogy with my sons about how, their favourite striker might not be getting goals in the back of the net. They're off form, they're on the bench. And I say that's just like women. But, give them a few weeks, they'll be right back at you, scoring.
So. Yeah, it's a phase, a transition we go through. If I can just go back to the coffee mornings that you mentioned, Claire, how do you encourage inclusivity there? I mean, across a wide workforce, do you get male participation in those?
We do sometimes. We do. So we do get some male people with male employees that come along, and we obviously do encourage them. I think what we also do is with the manager training, obviously there's men involved in that, but I will literally go round when I make coffee or near the water fountain. I will often speak to quite a lot of male colleagues about it, and then get them involved in it. And it's amazing the amount of people that say to me, "Oh, that presentation you did," or you sent me onto the benefit, the intranet, and got all this information. I now realise what my wife's been going through, you know, and it's just sharing that information, and they've come back and said, oh, that's really, really good, you know. And so I think it's just keep plugging and plugging and plugging away. You know, we have good months at the coffee mornings. We have a lot of attendees, and some other months there might only be 4 or 5 of us. But it's just carry on going, trying to maybe get special speakers in. I'm looking at that for next year. I'm trying to get special speakers in to like focus the coffee mornings on something. But I think we do get men in there, and I think just keep plugging them is the best thing to do.
Yeah, amazing. And any more advice for somebody who's looking for going through the process at the moment and is looking to reach out? What sort of words of encouragement would you give?
You mean a woman who's just maybe recognizing that she's not feeling herself, more anxious than she's normally been, maybe her periods have changed?
Exactly.
So there are some trusted resources. We are trusted source ourselves, but we're available via employers. But I think, Claire, you said earlier, one of the reasons why we want to be a source of truth for women is because there's so much information out there, and who do you trust?
Yeah.
So we work with NICE guidelines, we work with the British Menopause Society guidelines. Their consumer website is Women's Health Concerns. You can get some trusted, good quality information from the Women's Health Concern website. Obviously, the NHS website is a good place to go. I'm part of the advisory board for the National Menopause Programme, actually. We had our first workshop meeting on Friday, and that is with the Royal College of Gynecologists, UCL, Wellbeing of Women, British Menopause Society. And that programme is, again, it's about coming up with trusted source of information that will roll out across the country, hopefully when it's written 12 months time, and it will be a source for women. It doesn't exist yet, but those things are coming. But I would say look for trusted sources, and try not to take too much from social media unless you know that that person is an expert, because that can be unhelpful.
Lovely, thank you. Good. Well, I've received a flurry of questions that have come in from our Q&A, so thank you very much. Please do keep sending them in. Here's one, I think, Claire, which is probably appropriate for yourself, and I'll read this out just as it is. As a line manager, I'm unsure how to support my team as the business doesn't have any guidelines. How should I go about bringing this up with my employer?
I'd probably start with HR. If you have an HR department, have a word with them, see what you can start to implement, how you can start those conversations going. I think it's very easy to start looking at flexible working policies and things if you've got those kind of things in place. But just start the conversations with HR and see if, you know, you can start coffee mornings up, you can start updating your intranet site and things like that. And then once you've started that, then obviously, you know, you can look at the benefits that are available to support.
Thank you.
I would add to that, you know, this standard is really helpful because it cements, it legitimizes menopause in the workplace, and you know, well done for this question. And I would just print it out and put it on your CEO's desk, actually.
Yes,
you know,
with a copy of the
yes, you know,
leadership.
It's really important to get senior buy-in.
Yeah.
So.
Definitely.
Good, thank you. So another question here, are there any books or articles that you would recommend related to menopause or supporting people's experiencing symptoms? That's probably a good one for you.
There's tons, yeah. I mean, again, I think that, I mean, Davina's book was written with her doctor, that's recently published, and I haven't read it, but I've heard that it's informative. There's quite a lot about HRT on there. I would again look at Women's Health Concern website, because they have loads of fact sheets, they have loads of videos, and it's trusted. It's written by, it's the patient arm of the British Menopause Society, and that's who we take all our information from. So their content is all evidence-based and up to date. And I think today they launched some new YouTube programs as well, and videos. I saw that this week.
Yeah.
So I would go there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good. I hope that answers that question. Claire, for the coffee mornings, do you set an agenda, or is it a sort of a staff managed network? Do you include additional speakers? How does that
So
run?
at the moment, there's no agenda. No, people just dial in. I'll usually host it, so we just welcome everyone. And then we do have because we're obviously a pharmaceutical company, we do have people with quite a lot of medical background. So some of those people have done their homework on what products help them and things like that, and they'll usually do a lot of the talking. And then we'll just have different people that, you know, come along and discuss what symptoms they've got, how they're feeling, what's helped them, or just a general chit chat. How are you doing this week? You know, anything new? It's very informal. We are going to start looking at maybe bringing having agenda items, so focusing the group on certain bits, but we haven't done that yet, but that will come. But I think in the beginning, I think it's just a really good platform just to get people to start talking about it. It might be good to have a few kind of questions, or even a few, like if you go into Hempet, there's a few little videos and things that you can look at just to start those kind of questions, to make it a bit easier for people to talk and make sure it's a safe environment and they feel safe. Is really important.
I'm actually doing a webinar on this subject because I just like to make things really simple for people, and I think sometimes you don't know where this is a big subject, and it's a new subject, and there's not an awful lot of guidance for employers aside from the BS30416. So we're doing a webinar on how you get those cafes going. So anybody on the in the audience who wants to link in with me, or just send me an email via our site adora.health, free. I'd invite them, and we'll do a little sort of pager on how the way that we think it runs best. This is not dissimilar from yours, really, Claire. So.
Okay, what are the most common physical and emotional symptoms experienced during menopause, and how can women effectively manage and cope with them?
Well, there are 40 symptoms, but you're right. There are probably there's the psychological symptoms, which 50% of women will experience. And the thing about this is that it's not widely known. Women aren't educated on menopause in this country. No. We've got to educate ourselves, and they can often be the first symptoms to appear. So that heightened anxiety, that irritability, the low mood, the withdrawing from social situations, and women describe it to us as we just don't feel like ourselves, and that's very, very typical, and that can often be one of the first symptoms. And there are treatments for that. There's CBT, there's hypnotherapy. Both of those are recommended by the NICE guidelines. And then you also get changes to periods. So you might 40% of women get flooding, which is really embarrassing and difficult for women to deal with, especially in the workplace. So we've worked with a lot of teachers, and you can imagine how difficult that is when you're in the classroom and you need more frequent toilet breaks. So there are the sort of more taboo subjects and symptoms, and then there are the ones that are more well known, like hot flashes and night sweats. The treatment for a lot of these symptoms is HRT, and obviously somebody would need to discuss that with their GP to understand the risk and benefit. There are things you can do around lifestyle and around movement and exercise, which women should be also considering as well, because it's a time of new health needs, and we need to be thinking about nutrition and eating more fibre. We need to be thinking about exercise, increasing our bone strength. So those are really, really important things to do. Again, the Women's Health Concern is a great place to get advice on what works and what doesn't work. In the Adora app, we also have, I keep talking about it, but we have run lots of educational sessions around HRT, around natural symptoms. I'm doing one after this, actually. So again, if women can self-educate and understand, and go to the GP a little bit more informed, they'll have a better conversation with their GP when they get there.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So next question here actually is, could we share some examples of how Zest has been utilised to provide specific support and resources for employees navigating menopause-related challenges? Now, Claire, you're obviously on the Zest platform. Have you what have you done using the platform?
So we've so actually when we launched our menopause plan with our private medical supplier, within Zest, you can target certain employees to get those emails. So what I use is the communications. I use that targeting to say, you know, anyone over the age of 35, a woman, would then get an email saying, look, this is what we're launching in January 2023, look out for the information, and then you can put them back into the Zest platform. And then on that Zest platform, I added quite a lot of information about it and attachments. I think I might have put some videos on there as well. So all of that information is all held in our central platform. So it's what we try to do at Teva is try to get all our employees, the first thing to do is look on the portal, and the portal's so easy to navigate. So you've got like a one-touch kind of technology where from the front screen, within one click, you should be able to get where you want, which is great. And then we've got more information and then loads of attachments. The problem is trying to get our employees to actually get there and look at that.
Yes,
look at the platform. But yeah, the platform is really easy to use, and we've had some really good feedback about that as well.
Amazing. So as a product provider, we're providing the platform for employers to enable their employees to access the information. So whether that's loaded on a content page or whether it's offering various benefits, you know, they're all available, but it is up to your employer. So do bring the conversation to work and speak out. We've probably time for one final question. And this is one which I think we've covered, but it would be good just to explore a little bit more. And the question is, how would you recommend supporting someone who perhaps isn't quite ready to talk about the menopause? Claire, any thoughts?
Oh, that's hard. So and
it's true. So again, so we're all so different. You know, some of us don't want to share. There are cultural differences that impact on this. There are religious differences that impact on this, and that's why this collective approach is so important. Because if you're having events where you want to sit and learn from others and understand, that's a really good forum to do it. I hope that this person can find a way can find the courage to start talking. I mean, that comes with time, but find the person in the organisation or in the healthcare services that will support and give advice. Because one of the things we know from the work we've done is around some of the more taboo genitourinary symptoms of menopause, women are sitting and suffering or self-medicating, trying to solve some of these problems themselves. And often there can be an over-the-counter product. And if they can just talk to the healthcare expert who can tell them that, they can really accelerate to treatment. But it's not easy.
I think also with some of the people, the religious, people with different religions obviously don't discuss things like that. And we've had some people that have come on our menopause call that, you obviously, they just have the camera off and they don't say anything, but then just having them on there and actually being able to listen to the conversation really helps them immensely. So if you did have a coffee morning, perhaps those, if you had it online as well, it's not face to face because they might feel a bit more intimidated, but if you have it online, you can easily just come along, just listen to the conversation. You don't have to partake if you don't want to, and then they'll maybe take something away from that. And then signposting, I think, is really important. If you've got your intranet updated with what you do to support employees through menopause, if you've got signposting which others, like the HEMPET, the EAP, providers, I think we've got some bits with regard to Davina and the work that she's done, but you can signpost those all. And so by giving her more information, by letting her understand what she's going through, then that might give her the confidence to actually think, look, there is this, support group. They are really supportive. And within maybe, a few months, you might actually want to talk about it. Or, she might pick somebody from the coffee morning and just IM them directly and say, look, can I have a discussion with you? She doesn't want to do it openly. So.
And sometimes you don't want to talk about these things with your colleagues in the workplace. And pleased to say there are a lot of primary care support groups now. So if you go to your GP, they often have groups to support women around menopause now, or other kinds of coaching. We don't actually know that much about these things, I think, generally as a population, but there is a lot of there are public health initiatives as well if the workplace isn't for you. And totally, that's also something we hear. Some women happy to talk about in the workplace, other women don't want to talk about it. There's no right or wrong. It's about
So
working
find
out
what's
for
right
you.
for you.
Every woman is different.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much indeed, ladies, for joining me today. We've had a good conversation. Thank you very much for your questions. I hope you've enjoyed the session, and I hope you've had the opportunity to explore and open up the conversation. And I hope that you'll take our comments and back to the workplace. I think that probably brings us to a close today. Again, thank you, ladies. For those of you listening, if there are any other topics that you think would be worthy of a webinar or a discussion that we could host, I'd be more than delighted to do that for you. So please do get in touch via our website. Thank you very much, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.